The 25th Hour Radio Show. You know, Gary, I'm sure you've been asked this a million times, but just for the sake of breaking the ice, how did you first get introduced to horses in general? You know, what got you into riding that eventually led you into racing?
I think I was introduced before I was ever born. My mama was a rodeo queen in Caldwell, Idaho, and my dad trains race horses, and my older brother Scott, he's a jockey. He was kind of my mentor, and he's a couple years older than me, and people won't believe it. He's 54 years old. He's leading rider at Turf Paradise in Phoenix, Arizona, so it's kind of been in my blood for since I ever hit the ground running.
You know, I asked this question to a lot of guests on the show, you know, the musicians, the actors, etc. And I'm curious if it applies to a Hall of Fame jockey. What do you consider your first big break to be? I mean, can you look back in history and pinpoint a moment that really set the wheels in motion for you to have such a successful career?
Yeah, I mean, I was already doing okay up in at the old long acres race course in Seattle, Washington. Decided to come down here to California to just spend the wintertime in October of 1984, and Laz Barrera took a liking to me, the trainer of the firm, and I won my first graded race for Laz, and Laz just started putting me on everything. I won my first classic for him in 1985 on Tiffany Laughed, and he was a huge supporter, and it seemed to be, I mean, once you get the snowball rolling, you can either break the snowball up or break the snowball, and we were fortunate enough to keep it rolling.
You know, when I talk to people, you know, I'm going to use the example for musicians again. A lot of times I'll jokingly ask them if they still get nervous performing in front of a large crowd. And more often than not, you know, most of them say they still do. And it usually takes a song or two to settle the nerves. Can you relate those type of feelings to horse racing?
Oh, absolutely, man. If you're not a little bit nervous before you go out, and it's a good kind of nervous. You know you're going to perform good. You know you've done all of your studying. I'm sure like the musicians have. They've practiced, and you know, they're in tune with their band, like I'm in tune with the horse I'm going to ride. And if you're not a little bit nervous, then it's time to get out of the game. That means you're not enjoying it anymore. And I talked to a few big musicians about the same thing, and football players, same thing. If you're not feeling a little bit before you go out there, you probably should get out of it.
Mm-hmm. Are you a superstitious man? Is there a pre-race ritual you always go through before a big race?
I've got R on my right sock, L on my left sock. I've got to have the right underwear and the right saddles. When I win a big race on a good horse that I think is going to go through the Triple Crown or whatever, that's the only horse I use that saddle on all the way through that horse's career.
You know, I'm sure another one of those questions you've been asked a million times is what you consider to be the fastest horse you've ever rode. But I'd like to know if there was a certain horse maybe you had more of a connection with, you know, opposed to all the rest you've ridden.
In the heartbeat, Silver Charm won the 97 Derby on him, won the Dubai World Cup. And I'll never forget when I was going out on the racetrack and I saw the American flag flying in the UAE and Dubai. And great horse in Europe named Swain was in the race. And it was the first Derby winner from America that had traveled overseas for about 30 years, and I thought I'm representing America, and this horse is representing America. And about 50 yards from the finish line, Swain stuck his nose in front of Silver Charm, and right on the line, Silver Charm found something extra and stuck his nose down and got the money. So he was just a blue collar worker. He wasn't flashy in the morning. He was just a cool guy that gave me everything he had every time I rode him.
You know, shifting gears for a second, you know, as far as the sport of horse racing in general and being a fan of horse racing myself, man, do you think there should be more of a focus on the jockey than what we're accustomed to seeing? I mean, the way I see it, and I might be wrong here, all right, but it seems the horse always seems to take the spotlight.
I'm gonna take you back 20 years. Jerry Bailey, Pat Day, Craig Perrette, Chris McCarron, Lafitte Pinkai. I mean, I hate to take people back, and they're going to listen and say, who are these people that you're talking about right now? But the greatest that there was, Bill Shoemaker. And we volunteered ourselves to help promote the sport and everything. Unfortunately, the way that our breeding process has gone with the good horses, they're so valuable if they've won big races after they're 4 years old that they're, syndicated to stud, and people don't really get to follow them. And you hear and see of jockeys now. I mean, I'm 52 years old, and I've been doing the big time since I was 24 years old. And a lot of people do say, well, he should get out right now. It's a good time to get out. But, yeah, I definitely think that our sport should use the human athletes a little bit more than what they do.
Yeah, I know it's been out for a little bit, but tell us a little bit about your book, The Perfect Ride. For anyone who hasn't read it yet, what can they expect by picking up a copy?
Well, it's written by me with the help of a friend, and there's no holds barred in the book. And yeah, it's been out for a long while. I think that the first copy of it came out in 2001. There was a bonus chapter that came out after I did the movie Seabiscuit, and there's probably going to have to be a whole new book written when I'm done if I've got patience to do it. But it's my biography that, with no holds barred, talks about my family, my marriages that I've been through, and life in general, and the struggles and the ups and the downs of my life.
So in a day and age where we can get instant feedback on pretty much anything, are you still getting that kind of feedback from people who've read it?
Well, it's funny, man. I've got, it's actually, you can get the book on eBay or whatever, but I've got the remainder of the book from the second edition, which there's only about 400 copies or whatever left. But we sold about 45,000 copies, and I'm getting more feedback now than I did when I was young, when it first came out. And I'm reading it now, and there's been a whole new page that's turned. But who knows? Maybe we'll do on Perfect Ride.
So what's coming up for you in the near future? Any big plans? I know you just won your 5,000th race just last month. I mean, how long do you think the fire is going to continue to burn inside you, man? How much longer are you going to be in the saddle?
I've put my family through enough. My mom and dad are still living. I'm pounding on some wood right now, and they're healthy and doing well. My dad just had his ankle fused last week. I'm good friends with a pretty good old Kentucky boy there named Tom Hammond, who had the same procedure done a couple of years ago, and had him on the phone and stuff. But everybody's doing well, and my mom and dad watch every race. But my brother and I, Scott, who's 2 years older than me, he's leading rider at Surf Paradise in Phoenix, and my mom won't watch. Dad watches, and you probably hear a helicopter going by right now. I'm sitting out on the porch here in California, but my mom will not watch, and I've got two granddaughters, one on the way, 4 adult children, and a daughter that's 6 years old, and I really don't see myself riding for more than another year. I'm looking forward to the Kentucky Derby right now. I'm going to be in New Mexico for the Sunland Park Derby on a horse named Fire in Line this Saturday. I'll be back for the Bluegrass at Keeneland, along with the horse named Kobe's Back in the Commonwealth. And I've got some good things on the horizon, but as far as how much longer, I'm loving what I'm doing. I feel like I'm out on Golden Pond with my fishing pole every day, trying to go out and just catch the big one. And
yeah.
I wake up and there's no pressure. I just enjoy what I'm doing. But it's a dangerous sport. There's a lot of young bucks out there and stuff that I've got to take other people's consideration into how long I'm going to do this.
Well, Gary, is there anything else you'd like to mention before we start to wrap things up here? Anything I failed to talk about? I mean, do you do social media or anything like that?
No, I was on Twitter for about a year and a half when I was working for HRTV and NBC, their sports network covering the Derby and everything, and it was kind of mandatory we were on there, but I'm not sure that social media is the greatest thing in the world. There's a lot of opinions out there, and your blood can get flowing. Sometimes I would say things I didn't really mean to say on there, or react to something that would come in. So my wife is on Facebook. She's on Twitter and everything. But she relays everything to me. If I've got something to say, it usually goes through my.
So
my
you got a middleman there.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I want to stay out of trouble a little bit.
You got a little scapegoat. All right. Well, Gary, thank you so much for being on the show today. It's been a pleasure, and I want to wish you the best of luck from this day forward.
All right, thank you. I enjoyed it.
The 25th Hour Radio Show.